Hey there friends, this is Yegor. Today is a very special day. We have two gorgeous tomahawk steaks here and they have been treated very differently. Here is the catch. One of these steaks had a 48-hour spa session in dry brine, while the other one a brief 1-hour prep time. And here where it gets even more interesting. One of these beauties took the traditional Sear road, while the other one went through reverse Sear method. And I can't wait to find out how each method affects the taste and texture. Let's get the steak party started. Alright, what sets tomahawk steaks apart is their impressive size and presentation. Look at this giant. Many might think that tomahawk steak is an entirely different cut compared to a ribeye, but in reality it's essentially a ribeye with the bone left in and extended. So the main difference is in the presentation, not the cut itself. They bear a distinctive shape resembling single-handled axe, which is how they get their name tomahawk. Speaking of the bone, there is a widespread belief that it can significantly add flavor and taste to the meat. While bones can add some flavor, in the case of tomahawk it's more about visual appeal as the bone is cleaned of the meat and fat. So we have two formidable tomahawk steaks here, each weighing in at around 2 pounds. However, due to their slightly different shapes, we have one steak boasts a thickness of around 2 inches, while the other one is a bit more robust at approximately 2.2 inches thick. This subtle variation in shape and thickness is going to make our culinary experiment all the more intriguing. For the first one, which is a bit more thinner, we are going classic with a twist. I'm gonna dry brine it for 1 hour using salt, camp pot black pepper and garlic. Yeah, I know, purists gonna say just salt, man, but look, I got my hands on this insanely aromatic camp pot black pepper from Cambodia. It's like thyme, eucalyptus and mint all had a party in a pepper mill, so I gotta give it a go. After this quick 1-hour brine, it is straight to the grill for some sizzling action to get that killer crust. Now for the second big boy, we are going all out with the reverse sear, perfect for our 2.2 inches thick tomahawk steak. This time I'm going to dry brine it for 48 hours using same salt, camp pot black pepper and garlic to let this salt really penetrate into the meat and tenderize it. We will cook it nice and slow to start and then blast with high heat for ultimate crust. Honestly, I have never strayed from salt-only dry brining, but today is different. We have two epic tomahawk steaks, the weather is rocking, life is good. Yo, let's shake things up a bit. Alright, fast forward and we are 47 hours into the future. Time travel, baby. Our first tomahawk steak has been soaking up all that goodness from the dry brine. But wait, we can't leave the second steak feeling left out. It's like inviting a Batman to a party and leaving Robin at home. So let's show our second steak some love and get it dry brine. Remember, this one is just chilling in the fridge for an hour with the same flavor packed mix: salt, camp pot black pepper and garlic. Alright everyone, the 1-hour mark is here and it's time to get down to business. Our second tomahawk steak has completed its brief dry brine and now we need to tie it up with culinary twine. It keeps the steak in a uniform shape which allows for even cooking. For today's cook, we are using lump charcoal, which is pure unprocessed hardwood. This is wonderful because it burns hotter and imparts a natural smoky flavor to the meat. Let's not forget the charcoal baskets. These are essential. Using them means more control over the heat and more efficient use of charcoal. We will set up a 2-zone fire, essentially making a hot zone for searing and a cooler zone for controlled cooking. This setup ensures that our steaks are cooked evenly and to perfection. The steak is going on the direct heat. Flipping game starts now. I'm flipping the steak every 20-30 seconds. It might sound excessive, but this technique is excellent for even browning and avoiding any overcooked layers. Another tip: flipping the grate as well. This prevents the steak from getting scorched by an overheated grate. For a richer, tantalizing crust, I will be using beef tallow, but feel free to use butter if you prefer. Beef tallow adds a delightful depth of flavor without producing too much smoke. Here is a crucial step. Once we achieve that perfect crust, we need to quickly remove one of the charcoal baskets. This is to bring the temperature down from the high heat needed for searing to a more moderate range for even cooking. Next, the steak goes back on the grill for the final stretch, but this time we are cooking it on the cooler side of the grill. With the lid closed to maintain a temperature around 250 F, we will let the magic happen. And remember, a meat thermometer is indispensable here. We are aiming for 140 F for a succulent medium, as I want to treat my parents and they are more about medium than medium rare. Once the thermometer shows 140 F, I'm pulling the steak off the grill. Now it's time to sit back, relax and let the carryover heat work its magic, raising the steak's internal temperature to perfect medium doneness. Time to savor the results of this exciting cook-off. It's showtime, everyone! Our first majestic tomahawk steak is ready and it's time to explore its taste. First things first, we address the crust. Even though it's not as crusty as initially, because we had to wait for the second steak, it was a sight to behold when it came off the grill. However, the richness from the beef tallow and the high heat formed an enjoyable caramelization. Now, onto the meat. To navigate this, we start by detaching the steak from the bone. Next, we encounter a small triangular section known as the castrum, a typically fatty portion. Now we move on to the main stars, the cap and the eye. The cap, a succulent outer layer, and the eye, the steak's central part, are two unique muscles in the beef anatomy that contribute significantly to the tomahawk's delight. We separate these two gently and then slice them for tasting. And let's talk about the doneness. Even though we removed it from the grill at 140 F, the color resembles a stunning medium rare, which is quite a feat. There is almost no gray ring to be seen, a sign of an evenly cooked steak. Now comes the best part, the flavor test. Every bite is incredibly tender, which just goes to show how well our grilling method worked. You get a nice hit of salt from the dry brine, and that camp pot black pepper packs a flavorful punch. The crust might be a touch softer than what you would ideally want, but trust me, it doesn't take away from the big picture here. This steak is simply fantastic. Folks, this tomahawk is not just a steak, it's an experience. Alright, time to dive into our second contestant, 2.2 inches thick tomahawk steak, which we dry brine for 48 hours in the fridge and which I'm going to cook using reverse sear method. Dry brining does wonders here. First of all, flavor. The salt isn't just making the steak salty, it's amping up the steak's natural flavor. Secondly, juiciness. The salt penetrates deeply into the meat and retains moisture, which makes the steak more juicy. And the third one is tenderness. The salt penetrates deeply into the meat and breaks down the protein, which makes the steak more tender. Now for the reverse sear, we will warm up the steak at a low temperature on the grill's cooler side. When it will reach 115-120 F, we will move it to the high heat zone and give it a quick sizzling sear. That locks in the juices and flavors and form that irresistible crust. This technique is a winner for thicker cuts. It gives you more control over the cooking and you get that tender, juicy center with an evenly cooked interior. So, in a nutshell, reverse sear is low to high and the traditional sear is high to low. Alright folks, it's time to unveil the reverse sear method with our second tomahawk steak. This technique involves a balance of elements, so let's break it down. As we kick off, the steak is tied up with culinary twine to keep its shape consistent during cooking. We insert the meat thermometer and onto the grill it goes. We are synchronizing the low and slow phase of both steaks for an efficient cook and a fair side-by-side comparison. It's not just about saving time, but about creating the ideal conditions for an exciting taste test. I hope this idea works. Now, onto the art of smoking. It's essential to remember that it's quite easy to overdo this step. Oversmoking can overpower the natural beef flavor, so we are aiming for a delicate balance here. The lamp charcoal will lend a subtle smoky profile to the steak without overwhelming it. No extra fruity wood chips are needed. Halfway through the low and slow stage, we flip the steak. This step is crucial for two reasons. It ensures even cooking and also uniform smoke penetration. The result? A perfectly cooked, lightly smoked steak inside and out. As we aim to bring the internal temperature to around 115 F, we are already planning ahead. The subsequent searing and carry-over cooking will take our steak to the desired 135-140 F, the sweet spot for medium rare. Time for the grand finale. We remove the probe, position the second charcoal basket and add in our prepared lamp charcoal. searing time has arrived, and this is where our trusted friend beef tallow comes into play again. Why use it? Beef tallow, or even butter if you prefer, accelerates browning and helps achieve a desirable crust. It also imparts additional richness and depth of flavor to the steak. Our game plan for searing remains the same as with the first steak, flipping both the steak and the grate every 20-30 seconds. This constant movement ensures an even crust formation and prevents any part of the steak from getting too dark. Once we have achieved the crust of our dreams, it's time to take the steak off the grill. While the steak rests and carry-over cooking brings it to perfect doneness, we can admire the results of our careful cook and look forward to the big reveal. Alright everyone, the wait is finally over. Our second tomahawk steak, which underwent a 48-hour dry brine and was meticulously reverse seared, is ready to be dissected. Let's dive right in. The first move is to separate the cap. Next, we remove the bone, and let me tell you, there is something deeply satisfying about a tomahawk steak with the bone attached. Now, onto the slicing. First up, we slice the cap. Each slice reveals the fantastic tenderness of the cap, a testament to the low and slow cooking phase. Next, we slice the eye, the central part of the steak. As for the doneness, even though there is a slightly thicker gray ring than our first steak, the steak's overall color is a stunning medium rare, precisely what we were aiming for. Now for the best part, the taste test. Each bite is supremely tender, bursting with the flavor of the dry brine and carrying a robust smoky undertone from the lump charcoal. The caramelization achieved through the use of beef tallow and high heat is simply phenomenal, even with a slightly thicker gray ring which suggests a touch more searing time than ideal. This steak doesn't disappoint. The reverse sear method has worked its magic, and the taste test confirms that this tomahawk is not just a steak, it's a journey of flavors and textures that's been worth every second of preparation and cooking. Alright, we have come to the end of this steak adventure, and it's time for the final verdict. After cooking up these two fantastic tomahawk steaks, I want to say that I lean towards the one which we have dry brined for 48 hours and cooked using reverse sear method. The taste was just out of this world. Before we wrap up, let's recap on what to pay attention to during brining and grilling process. First, make sure to salt your steak evenly and give it enough time in the fridge if you are going for dry brining. The salt will not only season the steak, but it will make it juicier and more tender. Secondly, control the heat. Whether you are using traditional sear or reverse sear method, it is vital to control grill's temperature. For traditional sear, start hot and fast. For reverse sear, start low and slow, and then finish hot. So there you have it, folks. Whether you prefer traditional sear or reverse sear, the key to a perfect steak lies in details and of course love for good food. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and before you go, don't miss out on what YouTube has queued up for you in the end screen. It should be something tasty. Peace.